Heather May Erickson is an artist, craftsperson, and a designer. I would just like to say I took this from her Wikipedia page because Heather May has a Wikipedia page. I think it's very super cool. Erickson earned her BFA at the University of the Arts right here in Philadelphia, majoring in crafts, specializing in ceramics with concentration in art education. She continued her studies at Cranbrook Academy of Art, where she earned an MFA in ceramic art. She grew up in this area in Delaware and New Jersey, from what I understand.
And Ohio.
And Ohio. Heather May has had residencies at the Archie Bray Foundation in Helena, Montana, here at the Clay Studio as well. She has won numerous awards, including a Fulbright Fellowship to conduct independent research at Aalto University in Helsinki, Finland. First place for the Horizon Award presented by the Museum of Art and Design in New York. An honorable mention in at the Korea Biennale International 2007 and 2009. She was awarded an Independence Fellowship for a summer residency at the International Ceramic Center in Denmark. Heather May was the 2009 to 2012 Robert Chapman Turner Teaching Fellow in Ceramic Art at the New York State College of Ceramics at Alfred University.
Which I think it's no longer New York State College. I think they just want you to call it Alfred University now. So I have to.
All right, well, you gotta
gotta
change
change
your
that, I
website then.
Yeah. I can't change the Wikipedia, so if anybody wants to update that,
Oh, yeah, you can't touch your own
I can't,
Wikipedia.
yeah.
It's against the rules.
somebody's, yeah. So if
Heather
anybody wants to take that on.
Heather May has taught at the University of the Arts, Rowan University, the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, Red Rocks Community. You're gonna tell me I'm wrong.
2014.
Oh, thank you. See, I knew I left that little thing there on purpose. Since 2014, she's been an assistant professor of undergraduate and graduate ceramics and studio art, ceramics area coordinator at Western Carolina University in Colby, North Carolina.
Yeah,
I'm sure
we
that
also have our land acknowledgement as well, but I'm glad you did yours, so thank you.
And Dr. Travis A. Roundtree is an assistant professor in the English department at Western Carolina University. He earned his PhD from the University of Louisville. His master's in English from Appalachian State University with a certificate in Appalachian Studies, which I would like to say I am correctly pronouncing because I have a friend from that area. And his I went backwards. BA in English from James Madison University with a minor in American Studies. He teaches first-year composition courses as well as graduate courses in composition and rhetoric. His research interests include queer archival research and pedagogy, country music, Appalachian rhetorics, place-based pedagogy, and public memory studies. How cool is that? He's been publishing in the North Carolina Folklore Journal, Journal of Southern History, and Appalachian Journal, University of Kentucky Press, published his book, Hillsville Remembered, Public Memory, Historical Silence, with Heather May is holding up, and Appalachian's most notorious shootout. Oh my gosh, I have to read that book. Welcome to you both, and I'm sure that we can introduce our other speakers as they chime in during our conversation. I think I'm going to hand it over first to Heather May so that we can get started with our slides, which we'll work on for about 15 minutes, and then we'll do some conversation. Oh, it makes it so I think everything is stacked. I know, it's just you. I was gonna do it at the bottom, but
hi, y'all. Thanks so much for coming. It is amazing to finally be here at the Clay Studio. We have been talking about coming here for a couple of years, and COVID has really thrown us through an interesting life challenge, I would say. But I was born in Delaware, grew up in South Jersey, basically, just over the bridge, about 20 minutes. And like Jay-Z said, I went to the University of the Arts. Afterwards, I was in Ohio, where my parents live, and got basically got into Cranbrook for my graduate degree in 2000 and graduated in Oh, I couldn't even remember, so long ago, gosh. I think I went to Cranbrook 2002 to 2004. That's so bad. And then I went to Finland for a year, and that's where I learned a lot of my mold making on my Fulbright tour, basically around Europe, which was amazing. And one of the things about the Fulbright is coming back and bringing that information back to the United States as a gift. And to share about mold making and slip casting. So my students here last semester and a couple semesters ago did a lot of mold making, and the project that we're talking about is all about mold making and slip casting in the beginning, and then obviously LGBTQ themed project in the community. So this project really began during COVID. I was making designs for quite a couple of years, trying to figure out the new body of work. And if you look at my website or you know my work, I do bodies of work, maybe 1 to 3 years they last. And then I want to transition into something else to challenge myself in some way, maybe the concept of how the work is made or how the molds are made, the storytelling and narrative behind sculptural tableware and functional tableware kind of coming together with some of these projects. And during COVID, I, as a lot of people did, sorry, trying to learn how to use this computer, did some deep diving for myself. I had just received tenure and associate professor status at Western Carolina University, basically the day before we went into quarantine. So I went home by myself on my mountainside in Silva-Dillsboro area of Western North Carolina, which, to give you a little bit of an idea, an hour and 15 minutes to the west, you get to Aramont. 2 hours away, you get to Penland. We're an hour west of Asheville. So we're in the middle of everything. Black Mountain College is there, the Bascom Art Center, John C. Campbell Folk School, amazing places to visit for the arts, and the Hambidge Center as well. Don't want to forget about Hambidge, good friends of mine. So I started reading and listening to a lot of Brene Brown, Dr. Brene Brown's work from the University of Houston. I think it's the University of Houston. And her work in social work is amazing, I think. She was doing traditional grounded research and started to share her research in a way that was accessible for the everyday person to digest, basically. Like Travis's book is published, and he's going to have an audio book of it, which is really awesome. And we brought the book so you can all take a look at his dissertation and the book that it became, basically. But a lot of traditional research is really like kept in academia and academic journals. And so I wanted to kind of bust out a little bit more with my research and do some more traditional research along with the creative scholarship in academia, basically, because that's how we get our status, is through teaching scholarship and service, which is the Boyer model for educators in a lot of different universities. So we give equal time to teaching. The scholarship is the work that we do, if it's writing, curating, all that kind of stuff, artwork, and then service to the institution, the field, and the community. So when I was doing this research, I really did a deep dive into myself to figure out, well, what does the next couple of years look like? Because I'm now 2 years to tenure, I think, or to full professor. And what are my goals for the future of my practice and the classroom and the service that I want to do? So this work was really phenomenal. And I felt like Brene was talking to me. Elizabeth Gilbert's podcast for Big Magic is also really great. You can go on and listen online and listen to Brene's old podcast, because she kind of discontinued it a couple months ago, but it's still on there. And Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, you might know her. She also wrote this great book called Big Magic, and it really helped me at the time when I felt like I was maybe a little burnt out. And then Hannah Gadsby like really spoke to me. And I was like, this woman is amazing. And I saw recently that Catherine Footer was at a talk with her in Brooklyn. Like yesterday, I saw online and I was like, what? I want to be there. I cannot believe that I am here right now and she is right there. So I try to share with my students, especially my non-major students, some of her art history stuff, because she's an MFA in art. She's an art historian from college, but she's a comedian, an Australian comedian from Tasmania. Amazing woman. Also was diagnosed with autism recently, and her comedy is just really groundbreaking. She has a new special on if you want to check that out. And if you want to talk more about this kind of this education and empathy, wholehearted classrooms, and like Brené's kind of work as well, bringing it outside of K-12, maybe bringing it more into the university system. And I just started making, I was reading this stuff and I said, you know, I am not teaching in my own authenticity. I've never taught in my own authenticity, which means that I am not sharing my full self with my students. And it became very clear that I needed to do this because I feel like the demographic in my classroom, the classrooms that I was teaching in, have been changing rapidly. And I started noticing more students who were on different spectrums, I would say, that that I feel close to, that I could interact better with my students in that way. So I, when I was curating contemporary clay, the second iteration in 2021, the show opened, but for that show, I really wanted to talk about diversity in a different way than I had talked about it in the first iteration of contemporary clay. So I felt if I wanted to talk about diversity, I actually had to come out so that I felt that people understood why I needed to do that exhibition. And at the curator's talk, I came out publicly, academically, in the curator statement, you know, with the chancellor, the provost, my students. It was phenomenal to have them come up and hug me in the end. That was definitely a moment of joy and acceptance from the university for that. So I created a Facebook group called Wholehearted Classrooms during during COVID to look for, sorry, I know I'm going fast, I'll go faster, looking for other educators in higher ed education and researchers who are interested in this type of work in empathy, authenticity, vulnerability within the classroom. And we're teaching our art students to, or telling our art students to dive deep into themselves and to figure out who they are and share that in their art, but we're not giving them the tools and resources to take care of themselves, to be resilient, to know how to be vulnerable and safe in a space without giving too much information away, and make art that really speaks about who they are and what they want to contribute to society or through their art. So this is what Pride Pots turned into. I was at my house by myself with bisque pots, painting pots in my living room, in my kitchen, and this is what came out of it basically. So this piece here is United, I forget the order of it, United Resilient Together, something like that. This is in my kitchen during COVID. This is a couple of years ago. This work is not easy. I'm having a lot of trouble still getting into the studio. It's just a lot of pressure and a lot of emotions, I would say. So when I was painting these, I was thinking pride and I was thinking of myself, but then I started thinking, I can't do this work by myself. I think this needs to be a socially engaged project because I can't do this work by myself. And I said that to my friend Margot last night. I said, you know, I'm not well and I need help. And these guys are helping me. These students and my colleagues, they're helping. So you can tell I'm very emotional about this. We also had a student pass away who, sorry, this is tough, who was one of the first Pride Pots assistants, Jennifer Gordon. She was also the student director at large of NCECA. It's been a very difficult year. So the first recent research presentation that we talked about identity was a presentation we were invited for a faculty student featured presentation. You can find it online on my YouTube channel. Recently, with my interdisciplinary research team that came out of Wholehearted Classrooms, Linda Ganstrom from Fort Hays State University contacted me and said, oh, I'm interested in this Wholehearted Classrooms thing. And since then, I have joined virtual teas with their faculty. We did a podcast series that we started through their Learning Commons, the Learning and Technology Commons. And this group of women has been my support system through COVID, through Jennifer's passing, helping me basically to write this article because I had an article due for Studio Potter and I just couldn't do it together. And I think that it was meant to be this way, that we had to do this article together. And I thank them profusely for all the work that they have done with me. So we've gone to classrooms, we've gone to big public events. The events here at the Clay Studio are Blue Ridge Pride in Asheville, Silva Pride, which Travis Roundtree is one of the founders of, and Hartford Pride, which my student Jenna Orbeck is one of the founders of the first Hartford Pride in Tennessee that we did, and it was inspired by Pride Pots. So you're seeing the studio, that's Flora Vidmer. She's the Ward Teaching Fellow in Ceramics at Western, and she's an assistant as well on the project. We're engaging with alumni. This is Laura Caroline Casas, a WCU alumni who's in North Carolina making amazing work. You should check her work out. She designed these stickers. This is Ray Matlock, a graphic design student at WCU who just graduated, designed our logo for this exhibition. And we have engaged with over 400 people in and around our community in Western North Carolina, Tennessee, and Jenna has gone out and done some other events on her own, which have been amazing to see my students excel through this project, write their own grants, do their own spin-off projects of this, and find their way to the future. Hopefully we'll hear a little bit about that from them in the Q&A, and find their own authenticity with the acceptance that I'm trying and belonging to, that I'm trying to foster for creative placemaking in North Carolina and the Appalachian region. So I'm going to hand it over to Travis Roundtree, my colleague, friend, and I will say that when I met Travis a couple of years ago, we weren't really close academically, but I knew who he was. But more recently, I'd say about a year ago, or actually when I was coming out, I will say, I'm on LGBT working group at WCU, and I also do a lot of other stuff around diversity and and when I was coming out thinking about, well, what's this going to mean? What's this going to do? You know, because I was always told, keep that secret. You know, it's not going to help you advance. It's not, you know, and I looked around at the faculty at WCU and the faculty who were out, proud, and doing research about it. That made me comfortable. I assumed Travis was a more senior professor than I was. And then I learned that he was actually a more junior professor than I. And I was like, oh, good. And so we have become really amazing friends, and we have a really tight-knit group of friends that have helped me get through a lot of trials since Jen's passing. And I just love where I live. I love the people. I love the land. And I just want to share all of these amazing things that are happening in the South with people. It's like full circle coming back to Philadelphia. So bringing in Travis is, you know, thinking about upward, downward, lateral mentorship. I talk about it a lot, where we have undergrads mentoring graduate students, we have faculty mentoring each other. And it's just this thing of, if we can make the research or the learning even bigger, exhaust the idea, coming up with projects. How many more projects or people and collaborations can we bring in together to make all of our projects even more interesting and include more people? So Travis will kind of hopefully give us more context to the stuff that I really don't know about, and have been excited to hear and learn more about. And this is my babysitter from when I was a baby. This is Patty. I can't stop. This is the moment of joy. I haven't seen Patty and Sandy in many, many years. She was the one that told me that, I won't say her words, but she said I was going to be gay when I grew up. She did. Please come in, have a seat over here, funny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Travis, go ahead.
I just want to say, first off, like, thank Heather May, for all this work, and, to Josh and Jenna for their work. I'm just so excited to kind of hitch my wagon up to Heather May's sort of circus here. And, it's just been a joy. And, getting to know Heather May too, and her family and everybody and all of your friends, and it's amazing. So, what I wanted to kind of do is give you some regional context about where this is happening, and a region called Appalachia. So a couple things here. So I'm the president. I have a big damn mouth. So I have like just join all the things and do all the things. And so I'm the president of the Appalachian Studies Association, which is an association that's based in Appalachia. And we study the region and things that are happening in the region. We do activism. We have an annual conference every year, which is going to be at Western this year. Yay. Don't talk to me next fall or in spring. But so that's the association that's based in the region. But this is a map of Appalachia, which is based on the Appalachian Regional Commission. So there's many definitions of Appalachia too. There's cultural ones, there's map ones. And when you think of Appalachia, oftentimes people think of like poverty, right? Like that's sort of what we're made to think about. But the region is so much more richer than that, right? And so what's happening now in the region is that we have this sort of queer uprising in the region, which is wonderful, right? Yay. I'm not just saying that because I started a pride, but I am. So we have this great research that's coming out of the region. So LGBTQ fiction and poetry from Appalachia is written by Jeff Mann and Julia Watts. Storytelling in Queer Appalachia, which is over there, just like some self-promotion here. But that's a book that's came from the region, printed by West Virginia University Press. And it's kind of academic, but it's also really great telling the history of the region as well too. And I can kind of do a song and dance about Appalachia all damn day. But this is our county of have my little arrow there. Look at that. Oh, know how to do that. From where we live. Yeah, we're like next to Cherokee.
How long through Cherokee to get to the Smoky Mountains? Still.
It's a ways. Oh yeah. Until you get back. So that's sort of the context. And again, Appalachia is different than the rest of the South. It's similar in a lot of ways, but we have a different accent. I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. Appalachia is different, right? Lee Smith is a writer from the region, and she says she didn't grow up in like the Gone with the Wind. Like she didn't grow up with statues and with, that type of thing in Appalachia. She's from Grundy, Virginia, which is Southwest Virginia. So I want to mention our archives as well too. This is the Western North Carolina LGBTQ IA+ archive that's based in Asheville, Blue Ridge Pride. It's huge. It's a machine, right? I mean, Amanda Ray does that work and it is phenomenal. So we have our own archive that actually feeds into that one as well too. At Western Carolina, it's the Jackson County Collective. So what we do is we focus on where Western Carolina is based. And with Heather May's project as well too, it's sort of about identity. It's about people sharing their stories. It's about showing not only is there a queer presence there, but there's always been a queer presence there, right?
Always.
For a long time. So including going back to the Cherokee. So which we're going to do more work on. These are our local, that's our next step. These are our local LGBTQ organizations there. So I am in charge of Silver Pride, and I'll talk about that. Wish I had better. We have a new emblem up there, new logo. It's the same logo without the number. So I'll talk about that just a second. Cornbread and Roses is like a local co-op. So they do group therapy there. They have meetings for local folks. They have clothing shops. They have a food pantry. They're amazing. Jen, who runs that, is just phenomenal. New Daliad and Teddy is based on the Cherokee boundary. And they're, they kind of formed after they sort of not canceled, but didn't acknowledge same-sex marriage there. So that organization moved after that. Silva Queer Support and Education is run by Jen, who runs Cornbread and Roses. And actually, I started Silva Pride because in one of those meetings over the pandemic, so fruitful, the pandemic, right? We won't talk about the bad stuff. But we were having a meeting at Silva Queer Support and Education, and middle schoolers and high schoolers. We asked them, "What do you want? What do you want in this community?" And they said a pride, and I'm like, "Okay." And so I started.
So let's start.
Thanks. So that's really how it started. And I have a committee of folks. Some are on the town board, some are from Western Carolina, some are just community members that make up our board. And actually, this is a mural that we did. So we had one of our business folks come to us and say, hey, I had this person who owns this building wants to there was always sort of rainbow there, but she was like, would you like to repaint the mural? And I was like, hell yeah. So we did. I have a couple of really wonderful a couple that is involved in the organization who's she's a graphic artist, so she designed all of that, and we really like this symbol of "You Belong Here" because I think that stands for Silva, but it stands for Western, it stands for Appalachia as well, right? Like we all as queer folks belong in the region, right? So that's my big old butt. That's me at Silva Pride. Again, like I said, it came from queer support and education. Again, each person brought their own role to this. We have screen printed T-shirts every year. We have nonprofits. We have actually, I'll show you that in the next slide. This is kind of like what we do. Our goal is to outreach to the community. And so we have a a festival that's like, I turned around, there's like 250 people in downtown Silva. I was like, oh God, what did I do? So it's amazing. So we have resources. The main part is to give back to the community, to create events for Silva, to include these nonprofits that a lot of them are based in Asheville, but we have at least 25 and we're starting to have more local vendors. We're showcasing queer music from Appalachia as well too. So we have a daytime family-friendly drag show, whatever the hell that is, and then a nighttime drag show. And we also have live bands that happen as well. Again, focusing on queer music. So yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions about, I'm also a member of the Blue Ridge Pride Board, which is based in Asheville. She makes me cry every year, like her performance she always has like a great thing performance. So anyway, that's sort of the context. I'm happy to answer any kind of questions about Appalachia or Silva Pride or anything on that end of things. And again, thank y'all for coming. This is amazing. So I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'd love to add the voices of our other visitors. If you want to talk a little bit about how you install pass it. It's just easier if the microphone will pick it up if they put it.
Yeah.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got connected?
Sure. I got introduced to this because I was an undergraduate that was taking one of Heather's classes. And I wanted to help out. I'm looking to get into ceramics as well as maybe a professor in the future. So Heather's kind of taken me under her wing a little bit, and the big project she happened to be working on was Pride Pots. So I ended up going to a bunch of these different festivals and these Pride events and helping facilitate all of the painting of these lovely bisqued porcelain pieces that Heather has spent innumerable hours helping me, as well as Jen, making thousands of these. I've just helped other people paint them for the most part, but I will be casting this summer. Yeah, I'll do my time. But it's been a really wonderful project to be able to take part in and to actually, I just more recently moved to the Appalachian area. And it's been a really great way to get connected to the community and become part of it and be able to engage and support here. So yeah.
And then we traveled also to Nsika with these two.
Oh, yeah.
And that was pretty groundbreaking, I think, for them to see that and now come to the Clay Studio. And
yeah, she's spoiling us with a great education.
I love it.
it's the endowment. Thank you to Randall and Susan Moore for the ceramics endowment. Caroline.
Great.
Of course. Jennifer?
Yeah. You,
Piano?
yeah.
Don't
we
think
stuck
so.
down, we're doing- I think maybe switch seats
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
We'll switch.
What happened today? There you go.
You look.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Orbeck, or Jenna O. He, they, she. I returned to school after 16 years as an undergraduate to get a degree in recreational therapy. When I returned to school, I went to the Office of Accessibility Resources because I experienced number of disabilities. When I went, the assistant director of the Office of Accessibility Resources, she finished my letter and she's like, this isn't a bad thing, but this is the longest letter I've written in 20 years. And I was like, how is that not a bad thing? And so I was expecting a lot of hurdles, but not only through the staff and faculty in the recreational therapy department, Jennifer Henton, Debbie and Paige, who are all awesome and helped me find who I am and what I want to do, especially through the expressive arts modality. The first time I met Heather May, we met special to talk about my accommodations, and she's like, what do we need to do? How do we make this be your thing? And she asked if I wanted to do an independent study last semester, and I was like, that costs money. So I offered to be an assistant for Pride Pots, and then I was like, hey, I really like Pride and facilitating. And my mother, who is here when I was 13, voluntold me for Nashville Pride, and I got to continue that work as an adult. And through Pride, we helped develop the first Hartford, Tennessee Pride ever. We called it the first annual because we're going to do it again. And through this project, I've done 13 events in 7 states. I've gotten to facilitate events with some of the same organizations that Travis is working with. Transmission, I reached out to Southern Fried Queer Pride. I did an event at Savannah College of Art and Design. And it's been phenomenal. I really like being able to facilitate people's access to art and people's access to their own voices. I did a bunch of research prior to getting involved in the project this semester. And the research that Parks and Recreation has done and their scholarship indicates that simply people being aware that there are programs that push queerness forward and push queer identity forward reduces the negative impact of suicidal ideations by 10%. It's phenomenal. So the work that we're doing here is exactly what I want to do as a human out in the world. And I'm so excited to be involved with, my family and continuing our work and being able to access art and share that with other people makes me a happy person.
Great. I like that you use the word voluntold.
Yes.
Nashville Pride.
So I'd love to ask Heather May and Travis to talk. I lost the thing. What thing did I lose?
This.
It came out. Okay. Excellent.
Or 1 second. Or
People
they
in
is it
Zoom
just
land
the
can
screen?
still see us.
Okay.
They're actually, you guys can see us in real life.
Sorry, our
so you don't
screen
need
went
to
off.
use-
A little technical difficulty
It's
here, but
going
I
on.
don't know what's going on.
Come on, gang.
Let's see here,
It's
but
going
I
on.
don't know what's going on.
Come on, gang. It's fine. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Why don't you talk a little bit about sort of, I've been waiting to hear. Talk to me about the actual events, like.
Yeah,
Walk us through
so
the experience of going to these places and the conversations that you had and those moments where you really felt like, okay, this is really meaningful for people, and just kind of story tell that a little bit for us.
yeah, so every event is kind of different. And if we're working with a different entity, we usually ask them, what do you want your event to look like or be like? And what do we want to accomplish? So right now, I can give an example of something that's coming up that we haven't done yet, but how we're going to make this happen and kind of choreograph the event. We have our next exhibition at the LSU Art Museum in Baton Rouge. Andy Shaw's curated a 2-person exhibition with me and Joe Kraft, who I actually work with Joe Kraft at Alfred. So that's kind of a really nice conversation there between former faculty and student, and he's making amazing work. So I'm talking to Andy, also Baton Rouge Pride, and the LSU Art Museum about what their hands-on event is going to look like. And because it's not in Appalachia, it's a different region like we are here as well. Thinking about who is, Andy said, well, who's your community? And I said, well, it doesn't matter who my community, who is your community?
Mhm.
Who do you want to define this community as? We've defined our own community right now, in different ways, but what is your personal community, or what is this, because you can think of the school as a community, you can think of Blue Ridge Pride or Baton Rouge Pride as your community, or you can think of your community as, it's kind of, it can go out and out and out. So thinking about community first and safe spaces is the first thing. So each event is kind of different. I created something very simple that the students could set up, and we set everything up the same way. Today it's going to look different because we didn't set this up, so it's going to be interesting. This is what they chose to do. So it's like thinking about each event and how we can facilitate meaningful activity. So it doesn't always have to be communicated. Stories and sharing stories can be an intimate thing between two people, or sharing stories like this. So at smaller events where I'm just one-on-one with somebody, or with a parent and a child, if they want to intern with the project, we've done that before, they all look different. I don't have a set of questions. Nothing's choreographed other than this is where the water goes. This is where the paintbrushes go. This is how you do it. You blot here. We make it really easy so that people come in and they don't feel like they have to be an artist. It's not about being an artist. It's about being able to suck at something new and have fun doing it, and not worry about what it looks like. And people are just having fun doing that.
Mhm.
Giving a space for that, I think, helps people to get outside of their heads a lot. We do some mindfulness practices sometimes. It really started with Jenna being in rec therapy and my interest in this kind of stuff. And Jenna started doing that in our classroom, actually, before class began. And I noticed that those were really helpful times, because that's in the beginning classes when I'm really kind of like trying to get stuff done. And it's hard for me to stop to have Jenna do the mindfulness moments, but I always feel so much more grounded and in a great space when she does that. So one of the events that we did in the beginning of the academic year, was faculty and staff social work retreat and they had us open their retreat up, and Jenna did some mindfulness practice, and we, spent time with these faculty and staff, and it was amazing to have a student run an event. We have a faculty online, Jennifer Hinton, which I hope her daughter is with her because she's the Pride Pots assistant. Jennifer is also one of Jenna's professors. She's the director. Hi, there's our Pride Pot assistant. Hi, Autumn.
Hi.
So we're talking about your mama, but is she there too? Working with Autumn was amazing. I had three high school interns last summer make all the pots basically that are here, and then also some of the ones that are going to Baton Rouge. We kicked ass last summer. These high school kids, they'd never done ceramics before. They were making casting slip. They were doing, they were like thrown in as, and then they got to engage with the college students this year. And that has been amazing. We also had an MFA student come in that is a trans student. They're amazing and ceramically inclined, and the ceramic assistant, or no, they were the ceramic assistant. They aren't ceramically inclined, but they enjoyed working in ceramics. And Daniel has been amazing on the project. And to be able to have a student come into a university and hand them a project and say, oh, your assistantship is working on Pride Pots if you want that to be. And he was like, this is amazing. I'm like, you can clean the studio later. Let's work on this. And having that instant belonging and group, I think is, I say that I'm doing this for the students, but I think maybe I selfishly I needed to do it for myself. So, it's hard to talk about one thing, like, what does it look like? What do you want your event to look like? It really is not about me anymore. I don't even want to talk about it a lot of times. I want to kind of step back and have the students run the events and start conversations, and me kind of take pictures and listen and, encourage people to relax and not, I have friends who were like, you got to come paint pots. And, we have friends like, I'm not artistic. I'm like, I'm not really that artistic. To tell you the truth. If you look at my pots, my surface painting, it's not amazing. it is what it is, but, having confidence in what you do helps when other people give you that space
Mhm.
to grow in a new way. So that's a very long-winded answer. Sorry, but
I kind of
that's,
echo what you said.
yeah,
too.
because you're a Pride Pots collaborator and Jenna's mom is a collaborator who on the other side painted a pot during an event.
Yeah, yeah.
Yours was the Haywood Arts Council.
That's right.
Small event fundraiser for the Haywood Arts Council, which is in Waynesville, North Carolina, about a half an hour in between Asheville and Silva, where we live. And it was a small event. Yeah, and
That's
that's kind of where we really came together and our friend group started to grow. So yeah, tell us about your experience.
I think with community work, just want to echo what you're saying. It's creating space and creating visibility for folks. And I think that's really what's important. And I like the spontaneity too, like, especially if you're doing like interviews for an oral history, right? Like we have like, 6 questions, but like sometimes we just get to 2. We had a 2-hour-long interview with this one guy who just talked forever, and it was wonderful and so rich, and he gave us background on the region. But you create that space, and especially with Pride, like I have the space. Now, what does the community want to have happen there? And I think also like the Pride Pots, like creating spaces for these things to happen, I think is critically important. Just like you were saying too, Jenna. This is like saving work, right?
Life-saving.
Folks. I mean,
It's
it really
needed.
is.
It's
Like,
important work.
that's
It's-
hyperbolic, but like it is, like it really is, like you're creating a space and showing that folks in Appalachia, younger folks, like I said, who like literally we had people coming up to me at Pride, like crying because they literally jumped out the window and
Like, we
like
have a lot of,
escaped their house to come to Pride from their
we
parents.
have amazing events. We have
Yeah.
too many events, actually. We keep saying, we have
It's a lot of
like
drag.
drag events
It's great,
weekly,
though.
weekly in Appalachia, in, small little southern town. It's insane. But the community
Mhm.
is growing.
Yeah.
And like when I go to a place like a pizza shop and I see Autumn, who's a high school student, with her friends at an event, and there's drag and there's family and there's pizza and it's family friendly and it's fun. I'm like, oh my God, those are high school kids. I didn't have this. I did not have this, Thank God I had Patty, who brought me to Philadelphia early to give me my orientation on being a lesbian. Very interesting. I
So good.
digress.
I love.
But it's important because I'm like, if I would be a different person today if I had, I don't know. Like my story is my story, and thinking back and looking at Patty, it's amazing what we go through and the trials and tribulations and the extreme highs and lows and who we are. You can't get rid of the extreme highs and lows as much as you want to, but that's life, So now I'm like looking at my life, looking at our lives,
Mhm.
looking, and how can we make an impact to normalize this stuff so that we feel a little bit more comfortable maybe in our own skin, going out, getting a coffee, walking down the street, the little things.
I think too, having students and folks who are coming up that are taking that over and are doing different things with it. Like I ain't gonna be around running Silver Pride all the time, y'all. So
Yeah,
man,
hand it off. So
Like,
if you're
so-
interested in being the
and it's-
director, so
yeah. I know, right? Let him graduate first.
He's like, oh, I want to be a resident of the play studio.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Awesome. No, but I think providing those spaces and those opportunities for folks to grow as well too. And normalizing it as well too. I mean, like now, like it's wild. Like I don't know, like I keep saying like we like blew up a little like queer bat signal, and so we have so many LGBTQ folks that are moving there now, and it's creating a wonderful space.
There is a bad.
Oh, is there? I love that.
Oh, the Batman, yeah.
I love that.
The
That's
bat
great.
signal.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
he
The
was the
guy-
blue
yeah, he
bat,
was, yeah.
There you go. Maybe he created it.
Along with Flora the dog.
Yeah, but I want to also like what Heather May was saying about the drag scene there too. There is also a documentary on that. I believe it's on YouTube, maybe. But these spaces too are places where younger queer folks can gather, right? So oftentimes they're like 18 and up. So folks in high school can come to that, or college students. And I think that's in this project too, we're doing the community, but we're also involving Western in that, Western
Mhm.
Carolina. And I do want to acknowledge like the support of the Department of English Studies and our dean and like everybody that supports us there.
Yeah, us
Because
too,
like,
yeah.
like it's amazing.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
this-
they have full support. I gotta.
Yeah, he got funded. It was amazing. Our grant didn't allow that, but I did get a lovely Catalyst grant from the Belcher College of Fine and Performing Arts. And thank you to Dean George Brown and Provost Richard Starnes and our
Mhm.
Chancellor Kelly Brown, who have just been really supportive of us and the work that we're doing. It's hard work. I mean, you know, we're writing new strategic plans for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and you know, we're up against a lot of difficult things that, you know, are happening in the world. And, you know, to have us to feel safe on campus is really important to me. And if I don't feel safe on campus, which you know, has happened before, you know, I'm glad that I am able to talk to the chancellor and the provost and let them know that we're suffering. We, you know, the faculty who are taking these projects on in, you know, Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ and other areas on different spectrums, I would say. We have a lot that's on our shoulders, and not only just because we're dealing it with ourselves, we're dealing it with our students, and we can see it.
Mhm.
We can see it across campus.
Mhm.
And it's just, it's just joyful to sit here with this group of people and share our stories with you.
I mean, seeing you guys' openness and support of all of these different minority groups and so on has definitely helped a lot of the students. I've seen other students that are in the classes, as well as myself and Jenna, were able to more confidently explore topics through our own research. Like, I'm exploring disability aids in my current work and doing larger casting following in your footsteps. And I know you're also doing a lot of work in the same sort of field where we're able to explore this sort of thing. And we have people above us that have experience pushing through these different boundaries. It makes it a lot easier for us to start taking those steps.
Yeah. You know, when I was at the University of Arts, I will say Camille Paglia was really influential on me as a young person who knew that they wanted to go into academia. I don't know if you know who she is. She's pretty controversial, but I did have some LGBTQ teachers and professors along the way that really did help me, and that I did become friends with and have helped shape my life. And I am very blessed for that. And, you know, and thinking about how I educate and how I grow as an educator, and how I've taken bits and pieces, I think, from the journey of K to 12, and then undergrad, and then graduate school, and taking a little bit from each of those people that have helped me and created what my classroom is now. And it's ever changing and ever morphing. And as I'm growing and settling down and calming down a little bit more, maybe, and slowing down with the work, I guess maybe it feels a little bit more genuine. It feels a little bit more considered. Maybe the methodologies are changing a little bit, and how I'm making the work and why I'm making the work. And that's kind of my whole thing in life, is like continuing to push myself to learn and grow and share that with others.
I would, thank you.
Yeah.
All of you. It's amazing. We're getting close to the end, but we can always stay a few extra minutes. I want to hear if anyone has questions for these lovely people. Anyone have any or comments, thoughts that they want to share?
Anybody online?
Land, welcome to chime in with a question.
Devontae, you got anything?
Devontae also works at Western.
Oh, there we go.
You all did very well. That's my comment for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
That
I
was
just
it.
wish I could be there with y'all, but
Autumn, speak.
Okay.
I'm really glad that y'all are there. I wish I could be there.
We wish you could be here too, Autumn.
You are here.
Yeah, you are. Actually, Autumn is amazing. Autumn is graduating from high school as we speak, basically. And Autumn was the head, basically, in high school, okay, of the Silva Pride event where we painted 90 pots. She directed students and faculty and undergrads and grads in the painting of 90 pots in the rain, 2 tents at the second Silva Pride. And that was amazing I feel like to be able to hand a high school student that opportunity, to gain experience in a place where she had no idea what she was doing when she first got here, but then figured it out basically. And I didn't either, and this is the first time I've done, well, I can't say this is the first time I've done socially engaged work, but with my own personal work, I would say this, and this project really was shaped by, my students and my experience with a project that we did a few years before, which was, can't remember the name of it. Production Line. I'm so sorry. Production Line with Claire Toomey. We did a lot of online sessions with Claire Toomey for a project, and then did a pinch pot project basically throughout the whole visual arts building at the Bardo Art Center at Western. And I learned a lot. My students and I learned a lot about working with the community and ownership and shared ownership. So if you don't know Claire Toomey's work in the UK, look it up. It's phenomenal. Factory at the Tate Modern really was our inspiration for that project. And that project gave me the confidence, I think, to go into an even bigger project with my own work.
So excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, they say, what do you want me to paint? And I say, paint anything. Try and use the full rainbow. Yeah, let them do anything. Oh, here, we have a community collaborator here.
Her mother, Jenna, and she was raised pagan. And when I came out as bisexual back in the day, when I thought I was, she helped with that. So she's been involved in the community for a very long time. And so I recently retired from California, where I was working, and so I've got lots of free time. She told me about the Silver Pride and then the Heart Pride, and I went, and it was like, here's the colors. Draw anything you want. It doesn't matter. And it was just great because all these people were doing the same thing, little kids, big kids, and it was just whatever you wanted to put there, and you got to pick your shape and draw on it what you want and paint what you want. So it was just really cool, and it drew me back into the community, to queer community, too, which was, yes, because even in California, you'd be surprised where I was. It wasn't a big queer community there that I could connect with. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I never.
Well, we are, that is a really good transition. I'm sorry for those of you who are online, but everybody else, we're gonna go downstairs and you're gonna get to make those creative choices yourself. Yay! Paint some pride pods. So
Yeah.
thank you again. Bye to everyone on Zoom.
Thanks for
And
coming.